Hi guys, it's Marc Zicree, Mr. Sci-Fi, also known as Marc Zicree of Space Command, and you can check out everything about Space Command in other videos, and we'll be at Comic-Con, and you can come visit us and see our booth, and we're going to be premiering the first half hour of the Space Command pilot on our panel on Friday of Comic-Con, and lots of other stuff to talk about. Got my car back. It was stolen, many of you know, and I've had it painted and put rims on it. You can check that out on my Facebook page, but that is not what we're here to talk about. We are here to talk about two movies that have just come out and to compare and contrast them. One is Solo, the new Star Wars movie, made for $1 gazillion, and the other is Upgrade, which is made for considerably less and is a Blumhouse release. And but let's jump right into it. And many of you know, of course, that Solo is the young Han Solo movie, Han Solo, and the original directors, who were the guys who did the Lego movie, were fired off of it, and Ron Howard stepped in to quote-unquote save it. And it stars Emilia Clarke, who's from Game of Thrones, and it stars Woody Harrelson from Planet of the Apes and lots of other stuff, and Alden Ehrenreich, who is not a well-known name, but he was terrific in Hail Caesar, the Coen Brothers movie, as a cowboy star, and he is less wonderful here, but that's not his fault, I don't think. So, and Upgrade is a science fiction movie that just came out. It's about a guy who gets injured by bad guys and ends up quadriplegic, and he gets a computer chip put in his spine that allows him to not only walk and talk and do stuff, he can talk anyway, but also allows him to have superhuman abilities. And so here are my basic thoughts. Upgrade is a very fun science fiction movie. It creates a future that's fun. It's got graphic violence, so if you're not into that, then avoid it. But it's a good film and a fun film, and presents a very interesting future, and it uses its budget well. And it stars Logan Marshall Green, and the reviewer described him as being the guy who's not Tom Hardy, but who looks like Tom Hardy, and that's fairly accurate. You may have seen him in Prometheus, playing Noomi Rapace's husband, a very thankless role. Kind of, you know, he's looking for alien life, and when they find it, he starts drinking, and Prometheus is a gorgeous film and a terrible film at the same time. If you just turn off the volume, you can enjoy it much better. But here he does a good job. The stunts are very good. The whole notion of a computer that can take you over if you give it permission or not is a fun notion. And there's a subgenre of film that I like to call "You Fucked with the Wrong Guy," and that, of course, is like everything from John Wick to Death Wish to Bad Day at Black Rock, etc., etc., etc. And this is certainly one of those. And it's got kind of this HAL 9000 kind of computer voice that's called STEM, and very much in the tradition of that kind of ominous computer. And but fun. I really enjoyed it. Elaine and I went to see it. It's a good time in the dark with popcorn, and Logan Marshall Green does a good job. So I can recommend it. Go see it. You'll have fun. And Solo is sort of the other interesting extreme, which is they had a ton of money. It's Disney promoting it. It has sort of both these films, I think, have underperformed from the expectations that their filmmakers probably had. Upgrade's only made a few $million. It came out last week, and Solo's made $313 million worldwide, something like that, 170-something million here in the States. So underperforming for a Star Wars film. But the problem with it, and I think the reason it's not doing as well as some of the other Star Wars... See, Star Wars is problematical because you can basically go from A to B to A to B to A to B. And so the mainstream Star Wars movies, sort of like, well, we'll blow up the Death Star. Oh, then we'll find a bigger Death Star and blow that up, and so forth. Or the rebels are on the run, and the Empire is trying to kill them. And, it's kind of very... There's the dark side of the Force, and those are the bad guys. And there's the light side of the Force, and those are the good guys. And you can kind of utz it in many different ways to kind of... for subtleties, but it's still sort of the same bag of tricks. And if you try and deviate from that plot line, Then you've got, Guns of Navarone, which of course was the other Star Wars film they did, and this one is basically kind of a space western, or kind of trying to do a Bogart kind of character, but not entirely successfully. And so, now interestingly enough, George Lucas, in the three prequels that he did, which are very flawed films because I think he should have had better writers, not just himself, but the idea of that was you start with sort of the golden child who becomes a villain and then is redeemed through sacrificing himself for his son in the three major Star Wars films. And that structure is really interesting, and that story is really interesting, but they just didn't deliver on it the way they might have, ultimately, which is a shame, because it could have been a great, great, great story, that the Darth Vader character arc from the beginning to the end. But even so, I think you can watch those films and find value in them. With Solo, it's an entertaining film. It's not a bad film, but it kind of slides off your brain. It's not a memorable film. It's very hard to see Alden Ehrenreich as growing up to be the Harrison Ford Han Solo. They're very different in terms of their everything. And Emilia Clarke, she's great as Daenerys Targaryen in Game of Thrones, but that's the only role I've seen her in that I thought she was distinctive in. I didn't think she was great in the Terminator movie. I think she's okay here. Tandy Newton is kind of wasted here, whereas she's wonderful in Westworld. I urge you all to watch Westworld. Some people like it, some people don't. I do. Donald Glover plays a younger version of Lando Calrissian. He's okay. He's okay. Billy D. Williams was, of course, definitive as Lando. It's interesting to watch Chewbacca because it's played by a different actor than in the other films, and it's a very different body language. I didn't care for this interpretation of Chewbacca. They've got one good joke in there about Chewbacca. Again, it all depends on where you're coming from, what kind of movies you like. You may find this a very entertaining film, but it's like Disney wants to have Star Wars be on the conveyor belt and just kind of be product. And the moment you see a franchise as being product, it can become very problematical, because you're not coming from artistic drive. You're coming from financial necessity or financial desire, and then it's just a cornerstone of a marketing model. And but again, if they're plugging in talented writers, talented directors, Lawrence Kasdan is certainly talented. Some Star Wars films will be hits, and others will be misses, and we'll see what the next one is. So I didn't like The Last Jedi. I thought it went way off the rails for me. I think you could have had a much better Luke Skywalker movie, and I wish they had done the movie they should have done, in my opinion. Now, one other thing about Upgrade, by the way, in terms of the fucked with the wrong guy movies, the genre, anytime you open with the hero where he's got a loving wife and she's pretty and she's nice and she's funny and it's a great relationship, she's toast. As soon as they get into the movie, she's just like, okay, she's not going to last. And I'll say no more. The trailer talks about this as well, so that's why I don't feel it's a spoiler. So that's really it for now. I'm not going to go on at length. But if you haven't thought of seeing Upgrade, you might consider it, or it would be a great movie to rent, like a Redbox special for like some Friday night or something, and or if it's playing at your local theater, check it out. And that's it for now. We'll be doing a lot more to come. Subscribe to Mr. Sci-Fi. Check out my Facebook page, Twitter, all that stuff. And if you're interested in buying shares in Space Command, you can email me at marczicree@gmail.com. And that's Mark with a C, of course. So that's it. Talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.